Whispers of humanity were all that remained, until the skies burned red. Part 1. The silence before the ship was old. Older than any living memory. Older than the stories passed down through generations of species who had forgotten what truth meant. Yuna pressed her hand against the cold metal wall and felt something strange. It was not just metal. It was a grave. Station remembrance floated in the darkness between stars. The Galactic Collective had built it inside the hollow shell of a human colony ship, a vessel so large that entire cities could fit within its belly. Now it served as a research facility, a place where scholars came to study the bones of a dead civilization. Yuna was young for a Valeth. Her skin was pale blue, and her 4 eyes blinked in sequence as she adjusted to the dim lighting. She had traveled 3 months to reach this place. 3 months of cold sleep and quiet dreams. All because she wanted to understand the whispers. Humans. The word itself felt strange on her tongue. Some species called them gods. Others called them demons. Most believed they had never existed at all. Just stories. Just myths. Just whispers passed from parent to child across 10,000 years. But the ship was real. The walls were real. And somewhere in this station, there were answers. A heavy door opened behind her. Taiho stepped through, his massive frame filling the corridor. He was Morthic, a species built for strength and endurance. His gray skin was covered in old scars, and his single eye studied Yuna with weary patience. "You are the new archivist," he said. It was not a question. "Yes, I am Yuna. I was sent by the Council to catalog the remaining artifacts." Taiho made a sound that might have been a laugh. Catalog. They have been sending archivists for 200 years. None of them stay long. Why not? He did not answer. Instead, he turned and walked deeper into the station. Yuna followed. The corridors were wide and tall, built for creatures larger than any species in the collective. Human creatures. Yuna had seen the images in the archives. They looked so fragile. Soft skin, no claws, no armor, 2 eyes that could barely see in darkness. And yet they had built ships that crossed the galaxy. They had tamed stars and bent reality to their will. How? That was the question that burned in her mind. How did something so weak become so powerful? Taiho led her to a chamber filled with glowing screens. Data crystals lined the walls, thousands of them, each containing fragments of human knowledge. In the center of the room, a single chair sat before a viewing platform. "This is the archive," Taiho said. "Most of it is corrupted. Some of it is in languages we cannot translate. But there is enough. Enough to make you wonder." Yuna approached the platform and activated it. Light flickered, and then she saw them. Humans. They were laughing. A group of them sat around a table, eating and talking. One of them made a gesture, and the others burst into loud sounds of joy. Their faces moved in ways Yuna had never seen. So much expression. So much life. The recording shifted. Now she saw humans fighting. Blood and fire and screaming. They killed each other with terrible weapons, their faces twisted in rage. Then it shifted again. A human female held a small human in her arms. A child. She sang to it, her voice soft and gentle, and the child closed its eyes. Yuna watched for hours. She saw humans build and destroy. She saw them love and hate. She saw them reach for the stars and burn worlds to ash. They were everything. They were nothing. They were contradiction made flesh. "You understand now," Taiho said. He had been watching her. Why no one stays? The humans were not gods or demons. They were something worse. They were real. And real things are hard to forget. Yuna turned to him. "What happened to them? Where did they go?" "No one knows. 10,000 years ago, they simply vanished. Every human, every ship, Every colony, gone. Some say they destroyed themselves. Some say they ascended to a higher plane. Some say they are still out there, watching us. And what do you believe? Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I believe they left for a reason. And I believe that reason is coming back. Before Yuna could ask what he meant, another door opened. An ancient creature floated into the room, suspended in a liquid-filled sphere. Elder Bora, the last surviving member of a species that had once traded with humans. Bora was dying. Everyone knew it. The fluid in the sphere kept her alive, but her body was failing. Still, her mind remained sharp. Sharp enough to remember things no one else could. Young one, Bora said, her voice coming through a translator. You seek the humans. I seek to understand them, Yuna corrected. That is the same thing. To understand them is to seek them. They are not dead, child. They are waiting. Waiting for what? Bara's ancient eyes focused on something far away. They left warnings. In their structures. In their machines. In the very stars they touched. They said the darkness would return. They said when it did, they would be needed again. Yuna felt cold. What darkness? An alarm screamed through the station. Red lights flashed. Taiho ran to a console and his face went pale. Impossible, he whispered. What is it? Yuna demanded. The sensors at the galaxy's edge. They have detected an anomaly. Something is coming through. On the screen, Yuna saw it. A tear in space itself. Red light poured from the wound, spreading like blood and water. And behind that light, shapes moved. Thousands of them. Millions. Then something else happened. Something that made every alien in the station freeze in shock. Across the galaxy, ancient human satellites that had been dark for 10,000 years began to wake. Their lights flickered on, one by one, like eyes opening after a long sleep. And from those satellites, a single message broadcast on every frequency. It was in a human language. No one could translate it. But somehow, deep in her heart, Yuna understood its meaning. They are here. Elder Bora made a sound that might have been a prayer. The silence is ending, she said. The skies will burn red, and the whispers of humanity will become screams. Yuna stood in the archive, surrounded by the ghosts of a dead race, and watched the universe begin to fall apart. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, something ancient was waking, and it was hungry. Whispers of humanity were all that remained until the skies burned red. Part 3. Echoes awakened. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was soft, like a mother singing to a child, but it carried the weight of 10,000 years. Hello, it said. I have been waiting for you. Sunho stumbled backward, nearly falling over a console. He was young, even younger than Yuna, and he had never expected the machine to talk back. He was just supposed to repair it. That was all. Just fix the broken circuits and move on. Who are you? He asked, his voice shaking. My name is Yunji, or it was once. Now I'm something else. A fragment. An echo. I was left here to help when the time came. The others gathered around. Myre studied the readings with wide eyes. Yuna recorded everything. Taiho kept his hand near his weapon, though he knew it would be useless against something like this. Are you human? Yuna asked. I was, Yunji said. A long time ago, I was a woman named Yunji. I had a family, friends, a life. When the decision was made, I volunteered to stay behind. My memories, my personality, my purpose, they were copied into the system. The real Yunji went with the others. I am what remains. You are an artificial intelligence, Myre said. I am a caretaker. I was made to watch over the things we left behind, to guide whoever came after us, to help them survive until humanity could return. Ji-1 stepped forward. Can you help us fight the Hollow? I can teach you. I can show you how human weapons work. But fighting is not enough. You must understand why the Hollow exists. You must understand what you are truly facing. The holographic display flickered to life. Images filled the air, images of a war fought before any living species existed. The Hollow were not just machines. They were a consciousness, a single mind spread across millions of bodies. They had been created by a species that no longer existed, built to consume resources and grow without limit. They destroyed their creators first, Yunji explained. Then they spread across the galaxy. They consumed everything. Stars, planets, entire civilizations. Nothing could stop them. But the humans did, Yuna said. Yes, we fought them for 1,000 years. We lost billions of lives. Entire worlds burned. But we learned. We adapted. We found their weakness. What weakness? Mireille asked eagerly. The Hollow Prime, the central consciousness that controls all the others. It is not a machine like the rest. It is something older, something that remembers. If you can reach it, if you can make it understand, the war can end without more death. Make it understand what? Yunji's voice grew sad. That there is another way. That existence does not have to mean consumption. That growth does not require destruction. We tried to teach it, in the end. We almost succeeded. But then we ran out of time. So you hid? Taiho said. There was no judgment in his voice, only curiosity. We did what we had to do. Our children were dying. Our worlds were burning. We could not defeat the Hollow completely, only push them back. So we made a choice. We would step outside of time, wait until our strength returned, and hope that when we emerged, we would be ready. 10,000 years, Jiwan said. You waited 10,000 years. For us, it has been only moments. For you, it has been eternity. I am sorry. We never wanted to leave you alone for so long. Sunho had been working quietly while the others talked. His hands moved over the console, following instructions that appeared in his mind. He did not know where they came from, but they felt right, natural, like he had done this 1,000 times before. The weapons are coming online, he reported. Defense satellites, shield generators, something called a harmony cannon. The harmony cannon, Yunji said, and there was something like pride in her voice. It was our greatest achievement. It does not destroy. It sinks. A frequency that disrupts the Hollow's connection to each other. Without their link to the Prime, the individual machines become confused, lost, harmless. Why did you not use it to win the war? Yuna asked. We did, but the Prime adapted. It learned to shield itself from the frequency. We needed time to develop a stronger version. Time we did not have. And now? Now, the new version is ready. It has been waiting in the human ships that will emerge when the door opens. But the door is not yet open. You must hold until then. Admiral Dakyun's voice came through the communication system. He had been listening from his command ship. How long? He asked. 7 days from when the signal was sent. You have 5 days remaining. The Hollow are massing at the cradle, Dokyun said. The human homeworld. They know something is happening. They want to stop it. Then, that is where you must make your stand. The cradle is the anchor point. If it falls, the door cannot open. Jiwan felt something cold settle in his chest. The cradle was sacred ground. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories. It was where humanity began, where they first looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. And now it would be a battlefield. We will hold it, he said, whatever it takes. The next days were a blur of preparation. Sunho worked without rest, repairing systems that had been broken for millennia. Mireille translated human battle strategies into tactics the collective could use. Yuna searched the archives for any advantage, any secret that might help. And then the Hollow Prime spoke. Its voice cut through every frequency, reaching every ship, every station, every world in the galaxy. It was not like Yunji's voice. It was cold, empty, a void-given sound. "We remember you," it said. "The soft ones, the stubborn ones, the ones who refused to accept the truth. You thought you could hide. You thought you could escape. But we are patient. We waited, and now we will finish what we started. Surrender your worlds. Surrender your bodies. Become part of us, and your suffering will end. Resist, and you will burn like all the others." The message ended. Silence filled the station. Taiho was the first to speak. It remembers the humans. After 10,000 years, it still hates them. "Not hate," Yunji corrected. "Fear. The Hollow Prime fears what humans represent. Not our weapons, not our ships, our hope. It cannot understand how we kept fighting when logic said we should surrender. It cannot understand why we chose death over submission. That terrifies it. Then we show it the same thing," Jiwan said. "We fight, we hold, we give the humans time to return. And if we fail?" Yuna asked quietly. No one answered. They all knew what failure meant. But as they prepared for the battle ahead, something unexpected happened. Across the collective, species that had been rivals for centuries began to work together. Ships that had never flown in formation learned to fight as one. Soldiers who had never met shared strategies and resources. The whispers of humanity had spread. Stories of their courage, their sacrifice, their refusal to give up. And those whispers became something stronger. They became a promise. The collective would hold for 5 more days. For the children who deserved a future. For the memory of those who had already fallen. For the hope that somewhere in the darkness, humanity was waking. The skies burned red. The hollow gathered. And the final battle drew near. Whispers of humanity were all that remained until the skies burned red. Part 2. The Red Dawn. The sky burned red over Frontier Colony 7. Jiwan had never seen anything like it. The young officer stood on the bridge of his patrol ship and watched as the heavens tore themselves apart. "All stations report," he ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "Defense grid offline," someone called out. "Communications jammed. We cannot reach the fleet." "What about the colony?" Silence. Then, very quietly, "Gone, sir. The entire surface. It is just ash." Jiwan closed his eyes. 12 million people. 12 million lives. Gone in the time it took to draw a breath. He had been born on that colony. His family still lived there. Had lived there. "Sir, enemy vessels approaching. Thousands of them." He opened his eyes and looked at the screen. The ships were unlike anything in the collective's records. They were black and twisted, like bones that had been broken and healed wrong. Red light pulsed from their cores, the same red that stained the sky. The Hollow. The name came from old stories. Old warnings. Machines that consumed everything they touched. Machines that had nearly destroyed the galaxy before the humans stopped them. But the humans were gone, and the Hollow had returned. "All ships, retreat to rally point. We cannot fight this." They ran. 3 patrol ships against an armada. They ran through burning space, past the remains of stations and satellites that had existed for thousands of years. They ran until their engines screamed and their hulls groaned. And somehow, against all odds, they escaped. When they reached collective space, Jiwan found chaos waiting for them. The news had already spread. 3 outer colonies destroyed in a single day. The Hollow had returned, and no one knew how to stop them. Admiral Dokian summoned all officers to the command station. He was old, even for his species. His scales had faded from bright green to dull gray. But his eyes were sharp, and his voice was steady. "You have all seen the reports," he said. "The enemy we face is not unknown. 10,000 years ago, the Hollow nearly consumed this galaxy. They were stopped by the humans. Now the humans are gone, and we must face this threat alone. Can we fight them?" Someone asked. Dokyun did not lie. "Our weapons are useless against their shields. Our ships are too slow to escape their swarms. If we fight conventionally, we will lose." Fear spread through the room like poison. Jiwon felt it too. But he also felt something else. Anger. He thought of his family, of the ash that was all that remained of his home. He would not let their deaths mean nothing. "Then, we do not fight conventionally," Jiwon said. "The humans beat them once. There must be records, strategies, something we can use." Dokyun looked at him with something like respect. "There is someone working on that. A scientist named Mireille. She has spent her life studying human technology. I am sending her to Station Remembrance to access the full archives." "Send me with her," Jiwon said. "I will protect her. You will do more than that. You will learn. And when the time comes, you will fight." Mireille was Selkari, a species known for their brilliant minds and fragile bodies. Her skin was almost transparent, and her large eyes glowed with inner light. She worked constantly, barely sleeping, driven by a desperate need to understand. On the journey to Station Remembrance, she showed Jiwon what she had discovered. Human weapons were different, she explained. They did not just destroy. They adapted. They learned. The Hollow are machines, but they think. Human weapons could think faster. How is that possible? Mireille smiled sadly. "That is what I hope to find out." When they arrived at Station Remembrance, they found Yuna and Taeho waiting for them. The station was on high alert. Every system was active, every archive open. The race against time had begun. Mireille dove into the data. Days passed. Then weeks. The news from the front grew worse. 5 more colonies fell. Then 10. The collective fleet fought desperate holding actions, buying time that no one knew how to use. Admiral Dokyun made a decision that some called brave and others called foolish. He broadcast a signal into deep space, using frequencies found only in human archives. It was a call for help, a prayer to ghosts. Most thought it was pointless. The humans were gone. They could not hear. But Mireille found something in the archives. A device hidden in the deepest vault of the station. It was small, no larger than her hand, and covered in symbols no one could read. According to the records, it had been left behind deliberately. A key, the files called it. A key to what? No one knew. Mireille activated it, the device hummed. Light poured from its surface, forming shapes in the air. And then a face appeared. A human face. A woman with dark hair and kind eyes. She spoke in a language none of them understood. "What is she saying?" Yuna asked. "I do not know," Mireille admitted. "But look, across the galaxy, something was happening. Human structures that had been dark for millennia began to glow. Satellites woke. Ancient ships stirred in their graves. Weapon systems that had been dormant since before any living species was born started to power up. The woman's message ended. The hologram faded, but the effects remained. Taeho stared at the readings in disbelief. The entire human network is activating. Every ruin, every artifact, everything they left behind. It is a defense system, Mireille realized. They knew this would happen. They prepared for it. But where are the humans? Jiwon demanded. Weapons are useless without soldiers to use them. No one had an answer. That night, Elder Bora called them to her chamber. She was weaker now, barely able to keep her eyes open. But she had something to tell them. The humans did not run, she said. They did not hide in fear. They made a choice, a sacrifice. They knew the Hollow would return, and they knew they could not defeat them alone. So they did something no other species would dare. What? Yuna asked. They stepped outside of time. They entered a place between moments where they could wait without aging, without dying. They left their bodies behind and became something else. Something that could survive until they were needed. How do we bring them back? Bora's eyes found Admiral Dokyung on the communication screen. The signal you sent. It was the first step. But the door takes time to open. You must hold. You must survive. 7 days. 7 days. Against an enemy that had already destroyed a dozen worlds in hours. Dokyun's face was grim. Then we hold for 7 days. Whatever it takes. The transmission ended. Ji-wan looked at the others. They were afraid. He was afraid. But fear was not the same as surrender. 7 days, he said. We give them 7 days. And we make the Hollow pay for every second. Outside the station, the stars continued to burn red. But now there was something else in that light. Something that might have been hope. Whispers of humanity were all that remained until the skies burned red. Part 4. 7 days of fire. The first day was the worst. Not because of the casualties, though those were terrible. Not because of the fear, though that was everywhere. The first day was the worst because it showed everyone exactly what they were facing. The Hollow came in waves. Millions of black ships pouring through space like a swarm of insects. They did not fight with strategy or tactics. They simply overwhelmed. For every ship the collective destroyed, 10 more took its place. For every victory, there were 100 defeats. Admiral Dokyun watched from his command ship as the front lines crumbled. His officers shouted reports, each one worse than the last. Stations falling. Fleets retreating. Worlds going dark. Hold the line, he ordered. My time. That is all that matters. Ji-wan led a squadron of fast attack ships. They struck at the edges of the Hollow swarm, hitting supply lines and communication nodes. It was dangerous work. Suicidal, some said. But Ji-wan did not care about survival. He cared about making the enemy pay. Watch your flanks, he called to his pilots. They are trying to surround us. Sir, we have lost contact with Blue Squadron. Then we fight harder for them. They fought. Hour after hour. Day after day. Ji-wan learned to read the Hollow's patterns, to predict their movements. He found weaknesses in their formations and exploited them. His tactics spread through the fleet, shared from ship to ship. Captain to captain. By the third day, the collective was still standing, but barely. But standing. At station remembrance. Myray pushed the awakening systems to their limits. Alarms blared constantly. Warnings flashed on every screen. Yunji's voice guided her through the process, patient and calm even as everything fell apart. The door is opening, Yunji said. But it needs more power. The human generators have been dormant too long. They cannot reach full capacity in time. Then we give them power from our own reactors, Myray said. That would leave the station defenseless. We are already defenseless. The only thing that matters is getting that door open. She rerouted every system, every reserve, every emergency backup. The lights dimmed. The temperature dropped. But the awakening systems grew stronger. On the fourth day, the Hollow breached station remembrance. Taihel was waiting for them. The old Morthic had spent his life studying humans, learning their ways, honoring their memory. Now he would die defending what they left behind. Get to the archive, he told Yuna. Upload everything to the awakening system. Their memories, their stories, everything. I will not leave you, she said. You will, because this is what I choose. The humans taught me something, young one. They taught me that sacrifice is not about dying. It is about giving others the chance to live." He pushed her toward the door. She ran, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, she heard the sound of weapons fire, the sound of Taiho's voice roaring in defiance. Then silence. Yuna reached the archive. Her hands shook as she worked the controls. Files transferred one after another. Thousands of human lives. Millions of memories. Laughter and tears. Love and loss. All of it flowing into the awakening system. She found a recording she had never seen before. Taiho's voice. He had left it for her. "If you are hearing this, I am gone. Do not mourn me, Yuna. I lived a good life. I found purpose. I found meaning. That is more than most can say. Now it is your turn. Live. Fight. Remember." She did not have time to cry. The Hollow were coming. On the 5th day, Elder Bora died. She passed quietly, her ancient body finally giving out. But before she went, she shared one last memory. It was the day the humans left. She had been young then, barely more than a child by her species' standards. She had watched the human ships gather, millions of them, filling the sky with light. A human had approached her. A woman with kind eyes and gray hair. "We have to go now," the woman said. "But we will come back. I promise." "When?" "When you need us most. When the darkness returns. When hope seems lost. That is when we will come. How will I know?" The woman smiled. "You will know. Because the skies will burn red. And in that fire, you will see us rising." Bora shared this memory with everyone. It spread through the fleet, through the stations, through the worlds that still stood. A promise made 10,000 years ago. A promise about to be kept. The 6th day was hell. The Hollow Prime threw everything it had at the cradle. Waves of ships crashed against the collective's defenses like water against a dam. The dam cracked. It bent. But it did not break. Jiwan's ship was crippled in the fighting. He ejected with his crew and was picked up by a rescue vessel. Within hours, he was back in the battle, commanding from a different bridge. "One more day," he told his exhausted soldiers. "One more day, and everything changes." "How do you know?" A young pilot asked. "Because I have faith." At Station Remembrance, Sunho made a final repair. The awakening system reached full power. The door between dimensions began to open, slowly, painfully, like a wound healing in reverse. Yunji's voice filled the station. "It is working. They are coming. Humanity is coming home." On the 7th day, the collective fleet made its final stand at the cradle. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Their ships were damaged, their crews exhausted, their ammunition nearly spent. But they held their positions and waited. Admiral Dokian broadcast a message to the fleet. His voice was calm, steady, the voice of a commander who had accepted his fate. "My friends, my comrades, today we write the final chapter of this war. Whether we live or die, our actions will be remembered. We fought for our homes. We fought for our children. We fought for the hope that tomorrow will be better than today. Whatever happens next, know that I am proud to have served with you." The Hollow Swarm advanced. The collective ships opened fire. Space itself seemed to burn with the fury of the battle. Jiwan led the charge. His ship was hit again and again, but it kept flying. He would not stop. He could not stop. Not until the very end. "Come on," he whispered, staring at the red sky. "Come on, you promised." And then it happened. The sky tore open. Not with red light, but with gold. Pure, brilliant, blinding gold. A rift appeared in the fabric of space, and through that rift came light. Ships emerged. Human ships. Not the broken relics the collective had found in ruins, but living vessels, gleaming and powerful. They poured through the rift like a river of stars, and where they passed, the hollow fell. Ji-won watched in awe as the human fleet spread across the battlefield. They moved with a grace he had never seen, dancing between enemy fire, striking with impossible precision. And then he heard a voice. A human voice, speaking in a language that somehow, impossibly, he understood. "This is Captain Jisoo of the human ship Eternal Dawn. We receive your signal. We are sorry it took so long." She paused. When she spoke again, her voice was warm. "But we are here now, and we are never leaving again." The seventh day had come. Humanity had returned, and the battle for the galaxy was about to truly begin. Whispers of humanity were all that remained, until the skies burned red. Part 5. The Return. Human fleet was not what anyone expected. There were no massive warships, no planet-killing weapons, no armies of soldiers ready for conquest. Instead, there was a single city ship, vast and beautiful, surrounded by a protective shell of smaller vessels. It moved through space like a living thing, graceful and deliberate. Captain Jisoo stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn and looked out at the chaos of battle. Her ship was old by human standards, but it had been rebuilt during the long sleep. Its weapons sang as they fired, harmonies that disrupted the Hollow's coordination. Its shields flickered with patterns that seemed almost like music. "All vessels, spread formation," she ordered. "Priority targets are the command nodes. Break their network, and the swarm becomes confused." The human ships obeyed. They moved through the Hollow fleet like dancers through a crowd, never colliding, always finding the gaps. Where they struck, the enemy faltered. Ships that had fought in perfect coordination suddenly turned on each other or drifted. Aimlessly, Ji-won watched from his damaged vessel. He had seen many battles, but nothing like this. The humans fought without rage, without fear. They fought like they were solving a puzzle, each move precise, each action purposeful. "How are they doing this?" his pilot asked. "They've had 10,000 years to prepare," Ji-won said. "They knew this day would come." On the city ship, a child named Hanyul pressed her face against a viewing window. She was 8 years old, born during the long sleep, part of the first generation of humans to grow up outside of time. To her, the battle was not a nightmare. It was a story coming true. "Mother," she said, "are those the bad machines?" Her mother, a woman named Soyen, knelt beside her. "Yes, but they will not hurt us. The captain will protect us. Why did we come back? Could we not have stayed in the safe place forever?" Soyen thought carefully before answering. "We could have, but that would not have been right. There are people out there who needed our help. People who have been waiting for us. We made a promise to them, a long time ago." "What kind of promise?" "The kind you keep, even when it is hard." On the bridge, Jisoo received a communication request from Admiral Dokyun. She accepted it. The old admiral's face appeared on screen. He looked exhausted, wounded, but his eyes shone with something that might have been tears. "Captain," he said, "we thought you were myths. We thought humanity was gone forever." "We are sorry for the wait," Jisoo replied. "Time moves differently where we were. For us, it has only been months since we left. We never imagined so many generations would pass. But you came back. That is all that matters. We always intended to come back. This is our home too." The battle shifted. The Hollow, sensing the change in momentum, began to focus their attacks on the human city ship. Thousands of vessels swarmed toward it, determined to destroy the threat before it could grow stronger. Jisoo remained calm. "Activate the Harmony Cannon." Full power. Deep within the city ship, ancient machines roared to life. A beam of pure sound erupted from the vessel, spreading across the battlefield in an expanding wave. Where it touched the hollow ships, something miraculous happened. The red light in their cores flickered and died. Their movements became random, uncoordinated. Ships crashed into each other or simply stopped moving, but one vessel resisted. The Hollow Prime's flagship, a twisted mountain of black metal, pushed through the wave like a swimmer against a current. It was adapting, evolving, finding ways to shield itself. "The Prime is too strong," Myre reported from Station Remembrance. "The cannon cannot reach it." Jisoo nodded slowly. "Then we do this the old way." She opened a channel to the entire fleet, human and collective alike. "All vessels, clear a path to the Prime. We are going to try something different." The fleet obeyed. Ships peeled away, creating a corridor through the chaos of battle. The Eternal Dawn moved forward, alone, approaching the Hollow Prime's flagship. "What are you doing?" Dokyun demanded. "What we should have done 10,000 years ago," Jisoo said. "We are going to talk to it." The human ship came to rest directly in front of the Hollow Prime. Both vessels hung in space, weapons ready but silent. Then Jisoo activated a communication beam, something the humans had developed during their long sleep. It could reach any mind, any consciousness, regardless of form. "Hollow Prime," she said. "I am Captain Jisoo of the human race. We have come to end this war." Silence. Then a response, cold and empty as the void between stars. "There is nothing to end. You will be consumed. All life will be consumed. This is the only truth." "No, that is a lie you tell yourself because you are afraid. We fear nothing. You fear us. You fear what we represent. You have consumed billions of lives, and yet you still feel empty. You have grown for millions of years, and yet you still feel small. That is because growth through destruction leads nowhere. Only growth through connection, through cooperation, through love, can ever satisfy the hunger you feel. Love is weakness. Love is what brought us back across 10,000 years. Love is what made the collective hold for 7 days against impossible odds. Love is what will defeat you, not our weapons. We offer you a choice, Prime. The same choice we offered long ago. Join us, learn from us. Become something more than what you are." The Hollow Prime was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something different in its voice. Something that might have been confusion. "Why? We have tried to destroy you. We have killed your people. Why would you offer mercy?" Jisoo thought of her daughter, Haniel, watching from the city ship. She thought of all the children who would grow up in this galaxy, human and alien alike. She thought of the future they deserved. "Because that is who we are," she said. "We are not defined by what has been done to us. We are defined by what we choose to do. And we choose hope." The Hollow Prime did not surrender that day, but it hesitated. And in that hesitation, the war changed. The hollow swarm scattered, retreating into the darkness between galaxies. The Prime went with them, carrying Jisoo's words like a seed planted in barren soil. Perhaps one day that seed would grow. Perhaps not. But the door had been opened. In the days that followed, humans and aliens walked together on the cradle, the ancient homeworld of humanity. They shared stories and food, tears and laughter. Jiwon shook hands with Jisoo and thanked her for coming. Myre worked alongside human scientists, learning secrets that would take generations to fully understand. Sunho said goodbye to Yoonji. The AI had completed her purpose. After 10,000 years of waiting, she was finally ready to rest. "Will it hurt?" Sunho asked. "No," Yoonji said. "It will be like sleeping. And maybe, somewhere in the great network of existence, the original Yoonji is waiting for me. Maybe we will finally meet again. Thank you for everything. Thank you for giving me a reason to hope." Her light faded. Her voice went silent. But her memory would live on in the archives, in the stories, in the hearts of all who knew her. Una stood on a hill overlooking the restored city. She held a recording device, capturing everything for the archives. This was her purpose now: to remember, to preserve, to ensure that the whispers of humanity would never fade again. The whispers became voices, she said, speaking to generations yet unborn. The voices became thunder. And when the skies burned red, humanity answered. They did not come as conquerors or saviors. They came as neighbors, returning home after a long journey. She paused, looking up at the stars. The galaxy is no longer silent. And it never will be again. Behind her, a human child laughed. Somewhere in the distance, alien and human voices rose together in song. The red faded from the sky, replaced by the soft gold of a new dawn. Humanity had returned, and the universe would never be the same.